Hey everybody, I'm gonna make mango sorbet today in my Ninja Creami, and I'm starting with fresh mangoes. You can use frozen mangoes, but I think your texture may work out to be a little bit different because frozen mangoes, when you freeze something and then you thaw it, you get a lot more water out of it. The cells in the fruit explode, break open, and release the water. So you're gonna get more water in it, which could end up in a slightly icier sorbet, which could be a granita then, which has larger crystals and of ice. Anyway, we're going to start with fresh mangoes. And in case you didn't know, I am a recipe developer and food blogger. And today, I've never made this recipe before. We're going to start from scratch. I'm going to show you how I develop a recipe, and in this case, it's a super simple recipe. It's literally got mangoes, some powdered sugar, you could use agave, and just a tiny pinch of salt. If I were doing a more complicated recipe, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries to get it right. I am leaning on a million years of professional chef experience. So I'm starting further along the testing chain, because when I design a recipe on paper, I already know that it's going to work or not work, and then it just needs minor tweaks. Rarely do I have a catastrophic fail, and then that usually results from me doing something stupid like senior moment, forgetting something's in the pan or under the broiler or something like that. Anyway, today's mango sorbet is pretty harmless. So you're gonna start with mangoes, and you just cut the mango down on either side of the seed, and like so. I'm just using a super wicked sharp paring knife, and then I just get in here. Okay, don't give me grief. Everybody cuts mangoes their way. This is the way that I cut my mangoes, and you're gonna get rid of that, and we're just gonna try and get off as much mango flesh as we can. And I'm popping it right into my food processor. You could also use a blender for this, and just use your knife to get off as much of the flesh as you can. You get closer to the seed, it starts getting fibrous, so you don't want all that. So don't be like shaving the seed right down to nothing. Then to get the mango out of here, I just score it this way into a cross hatch, and then boom, push the skin out, and then you can just cut off the chunks of mango and pop them into the food processor as you go. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the second step in making this in the Ninja Creami. Of course, this has to freeze overnight, and then or this will probably take a little less time than overnight. It might take, 6 hours or something. So maybe I'll get around to making it this afternoon, the rest of it. You want it frozen solid. And then we're going to use the sorbet setting sherbet. What's the difference between sherbet and sorbet? I don't know. My husband says sherbet. I say sorbet. I don't know. Anyway, you put it on that setting in the Ninja Creami, and then you may need to do another spin on it just to get it not looking too powdery, and then that should be it. After that, I'll do a video showing you how I set up to take photographs. So you can see my full kitchen behind me. What you don't see, what's behind the camera at the moment, is where I have my little photography studio set up with the lights, the professional lights, and my DSLR camera for taking hero shots, where I style the food. And I don't know, I picked ice cream and ice cream is notoriously hard to style. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You got to be quick. You got to start with everything that's super cold. Super cold bowl, super cold scooper, super cold everything, just to keep it frozen as long as possible while you set up for a shot. And I've been doing that for a million years as well, so I pretty much have my process down pat. This mango is not quite as ripe as the other one. The other one was super ripe. And I'm going to try not to cut my hand doing this. Don't do this at home. This is not the safest way to do it. I can tell by the color of this mango it's not quite as ripe as the other one, but that's fine. I can't give a specific measurement of sugar to use in something like a fresh fruit sherbet because the sweetness of the fruit is going to dictate how much sugar you add to it. So you can get mangoes that are really super sweet, and then you can get mangoes which are a little not, less sweet. And so you want to adjust the sugar accordingly, but I will show you how to do that in just a second. All right, mango is in. I'm just going to whiz this. You want to liquefy it, basically. Food processor, blender, whatever you got, you just want to get it down as fine as possible. All right, let's see here. Open. Why won't you open? Ah, why won't it open? There we go. So, you can see in there, it's pretty liquidy, but it's still a little chunky. So I'm gonna just go 1 more minute. Of course, you gotta scrape down the sides to get all the crap off the sides of the bowl. God, technology fail. All right, let's go. Almost done. Of course, the riper it is, the less whizzing it's gonna take. All right, that should be pretty good. Why is that so stiff? Let's get the lid off. There we go. Okie doke. There we go. Pretty much liquidy. So now we just need to taste it. Oh, and I don't have a spoon. 1 second. All right, taste it. See how sweet it is. Not too sweet. I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. So this is where you're just going to adjust it to the sweetness that you like. Stir that all in. I'm using powdered sugar because it dissolves very quickly. And there's a green bit in there, a little bit of peel. Powdered sugar dissolves super, super quickly. You wouldn't want to try and use granulated sugar in here because it would take forever to dissolve. You could use simple syrup. You could use agave syrup. Heck, you could use maple syrup if you wanted to. All right, let's try again. I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon. And a pinch of salt. Weird, right? You'd be surprised. A little bit of salt really helps to balance the flavors, and it really sort of adds lets the mango flavor really sort of shine. All right, let's check again. Yes, I'm double dipping. Perfect. All right, now it's going to go into the Creami container. Well, you see, this is where we rely on recipe developers like me who tell you that 2 average sized mangoes is not enough to fill your Creami container. So we're going to do 1 more mango and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I've whizzed up and liquefied my 3rd mango, but now I need to readjust the sweetness. So I'm going to pour that back in. I'm going to stir it all together so that I can adjust the sweetness again. And I'll probably need to add a little bit more powdered sugar, probably another tablespoon. If I'm guessing, it seems to be about 1 tablespoon per mango. Let's see how this tastes. And the lid seems to be cooperating better with me now, which is nice. Yeah, 1 more tablespoon powdered sugar. We'll just get that mixed up. Thank you, lid. Perfect. I'm just going to add a little wee bit more salt to it just to balance the sweetness. How do you know when it needs salt? If all you're tasting is sweet and not so much mango, either your mangoes are really underripe or a pinch of salt will help you out. All right. Now we're going to go back into our creamy container. Get all the good stuff off this, and I'm making a big old sticky mess. All right, back into the container. We should pretty much have enough now. So with the creamy container, you need to have enough in there, but just don't go over the fill line. I get close to the fill line. That seems to be the sweet spot. So don't go too far below the fill line. That's it. So that was 3 mangoes, 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and a good pinch of salt. Not even 1/8 of a teaspoon. It was just a good pinch. That's it. That's going to go in the freezer for 6 to 8 hours. And then we'll get out the Ninja Creami, and we'll turn it into sorbet. And then I will show you how I style and shoot. I'm a little nervous about being so public about that, I won't lie. But I'll show you how I style and shoot ice cream to go up on the blog. And these recipes are all going on cookwhatyoulove.com. Thanks, and see you on the other side.